Hello everyone, happy Easter to you all. It is round 3 in Spain, the Formula 1 Invictus Racing League series, on a day we remember the late Sterling Moss, who has unfortunately passed along at the age of 90, but we find ourselves at the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya, and for the next 33 laps, we'll be doing 2.9 miles per. And with the two DRS zones down the main straight, along with the backstretch, we could see speeds of up to 210 miles an hour with 7 turns to the left, 9 turns to the right. For those of you who aren't so good at math, that makes 16 in total. And from the grid, to turn 1 is 561 meters, one of the longest it is on the calendar. And speaking of turn 1, if you're late on the brakes, you can get a move done. Just ask a few drivers in the past about that, particularly Nigel Mansell. Turn 3, as we saw in 2016, there were two Mercedes coming together and ending their race, getting about as many points as our current Mercedes have. And the turn 10 hairpin, if you remember, Sebastian Vettel, Valtteri Bottas, coming together, Vettel getting the best of the Mercedes at that point. The three hardest compounds here in Spain, the C3, the C4, and the C5. Well, the medium probably going to be about 8/10 slower than the soft tire, and the hard compound almost double that, 1.9 seconds slower. But that means we could see a mix of strategies today, Kendo. A soft, medium, medium, a soft, soft, medium, medium to hard, or soft to hard is all we could see here this afternoon.
It most certainly is. As you've just been talking about the different cars, as we currently are aware within the driver's standings, because I've got them pulled up online at the moment, we have DJ Danny Vaz currently leading the standings with Sir Shark in closely followed behind in 16. There's actually a tie for second place with him and C. Murphy, with a tie for fourth between Miles and James F1. So it's looking quite tasty at the front of the pack. Let's see how, as you've been saying, see what turn 1 decides to bring. See if anyone dares to challenge at that first turn.
Well, we always have a chance of rain here in Spain. As you mentioned, DJ Danny leading the Drivers' Championship on 27 points. And Sharks, Murphy, Miles, and James F1, they're all either tied or within a point of each other. But meanwhile, in the Constructors, it's Alfa Romeo and Racing Point tied on 31 points. Renault dropping to 29. Danny having those 2 straight podiums in the 2 opening rounds. His teammate hasn't had as much success, which has seen them fall to 3rd in the Constructors. But if you were with us last weekend, we had a bit of an incident on the closing lap of the race between DJ Danny and James F1, which unfortunately saw the Racing Point spinning into the gravel. Afterwards, the stewards awarded DJ Danny with a 5-second time penalty, which allowed DXT Miles to win that race. So that is why the standings are the way they are. Just get everything set up here.
Yeah.
In the meantime, it is the Racing Point who is first out on track.
It certainly is, and just while everyone is making their way out, as we all will probably have heard, the sad news will mourn the loss of a true F1 legend today, a man who will be remembered throughout F1 community, and that all of our thoughts are there with him and his family. Sir Jack, we salute.
We will be keeping him in our thoughts on this Easter Sunday, but Kendo, we're going to take a lap with James F1.
Certainly will. We'll jump on board with James just to see where he is. As he crosses the line to begin his hot lap, he is set on the hard compound, so he's getting himself ready. Potentially just getting a banker lap. As you can see, very aggressive, riding them curbs. Holding a very tight line, swings a little bit wider than what he would like, and unfortunately he does invalidate that lap. And that can sometimes happen, especially with them tyres being very very fresh hard. It takes a couple of laps for them to warm up.
Well, the track limits around here are extremely unforgiving, as you just saw there. Running wide in turn 3 can cost you your lap. But the driver behind him on a lap is Maniac in the Toro Rosso. Yet to score a point, hasn't finished a race yet this season. He's on the medium compounded tire, looking to change his fortunes here this afternoon.
Most certainly is. We've got a couple of drivers that look like they are on hot laps. It does look like the PHK is currently on a lap again on them hard tyres. He's currently just left sector 1 and setting a purple sector 1. So currently meaning business right now. He had a little bit of a lock-up. Let's see if that sets him back going into sector 2.
1:19.1 from the Toro Rosso is actually a pretty good time, but Dixie Miles on the hard compound of tire has only set a time 3/10 off of him. That is still better to go 3/10 faster than Jamie 29 in that Mercedes, another driver who has yet to score a point. Actually, Mercedes as a team have yet to score points, as Leclerc in the Williams sets the fastest time on the soft, so drivers already heading onto the soft tire, not even bothering with potentially the harder compounds. I wonder if that almost commits them to a two-stop, or I guess how long do you think those hard tires can last in a track like Spain?
Well, we fully expect the hards in a 50% race, as we well know, can go quite a lot of distance into the race, so I fully assume a lot of the drivers will try potentially get a really good lap on the hards here as a little bit of a mix-up in strategies. However, I do fully expect the majority of the drivers, as you say, potentially looking to do a two-stop, doing soft, medium, as a potential mix-up of strategy for those that really want to show their pace in this qualifying. But if you're looking for the long game, I very much expect a lot of medium runners out here today.
You see, only 3 drivers have set their laps on the medium tires. In terms of Rimac, we're on board with now in the Renault on the hard tire. There's a little bit of traffic in front of him. Looks like they've peeled out of his way and into the pit lane. Rimac in the Renault will come across the line and only go 10th fastest, but you can see just there 8th, 9th, and 10th all within a few thousandths of a second of each other. DJ Danny looks like he's coming back around once more. Is he possibly trying to go for another lap? We're not too sure. The top 3 in the pit lane already, so we've eclipsed the 12.5-minute mark.
Certainly is, and it does look like Liam is about to start setting a hot lap as we speak. Just across the line, and he's on the soft.
He's actually Liverpool Ewan is actually just put it in the wall.
Oh dear.
On the exit of this little left-right chicane here, where he may have just lost the back end. You can see him there. Yeah, he's lost the back end and ended up down a tire at the end of the day. So he's in 9th place right now, but he will either be starting on those hard tires if nobody else jumps him, or he will find himself a ways down the field as Rimac. So we're just getting a little bit in the way of the McLaren heading past. He was actually just on an outlap, so it doesn't really make a difference at the end of the day. Lando Nort, who's conveniently enough gets a little bit of wheel spin out of that final turn there. He's making his debut in the McLaren as a reserve driver, but it is currently, we have a Mercedes up into 2nd place, so a great lap from Mats in that Mercedes. Again, as we said before, Mercedes are a team that have yet to score a point yet so far. They're looking to change their fortunes here today. HK up into 3rd position, Miles now into 5th. As we see James F1 taking that 5th position right away from Miles. 4th, 5th, and 6th. We saw them all at the closing stages last week in Belgium. Interesting to see where they end up here this afternoon. All of them on the hard compounded tire. Looks like most on the hard compounded tire. You see the McLaren there just getting a bit out of shape. He's lost the back end 2 or 3 times now on this lap and once to the lead up of this lap, but he will carry on. One of 3 drivers still yet to set a lap along with his teammate. He's actually now in front of him. Hopefully it doesn't might have been a planned thing, as his teammate's actually going to cut the corner on his out lap. He might not be able to get a lap in himself, but Lando Norris going to come across the line. What time will it get him on the mediums and go 8th fastest? On the medium tires, you want to be getting ahead of those on the hards, but not on this occasion. Lando Norris in McLaren, his debut IRL, only going 8th fastest. Meanwhile, we have Mats and Leclerc back out on track on the soft compounded tire. Mats actually in the Mercedes, setting a fastest sector 1. Can he continue that pace? Looks like his teammate may have gone off behind him. Let's see if we can find JB29. Yes, he has. He's actually the wrong direction on the track. He's going to let one car go by. Hopefully he lets this Williams go by. It's behind him. Does just as well. With Mats now, who's gone through the middle sector and taking the trampoline section, as some like to call it, in convincing fashion, coming through final chicane now. And he gained that 0.3 of a second that he needed on the Mercedes-powered Williams in front of him. Coming across the line, he's relegated to 3rd, but goes immediately into provisional pole. So the Mercedes looking to have a strong weekend ahead of them after it has to be said, a fairly disappointing first 2 races. Looking pretty good here in Spain. We'll keep an eye on the Williams. He's actually invalidated his lap. The 2 Red Bulls, who probably had more of a dreadful start than they were hoping, who've qualified well, but they haven't really produced the same results in the race. Williams, Polish driver, back out on another lap. Again, he's going to try his luck on a set of used soft tires. Try to beat that Mercedes that is currently sitting on pole of Mats, who was just confirmed before the race as a now full-time driver in the Mercedes team. But so far, Kendo, we're still waiting to probably see more from the likes of Sir Sharks, Leclerc, Murphy, who is even yet to set a lap as well.
Most definitely, there's still a lot of time on the board. I fully expect the drivers who do want to set their fastest laps on the softs. A lot of drivers will be waiting for the track to peak, get the temperature into the tarmac, which will then allow the tyres to grip even more. So you'll see a lot of drivers coming out between 3 minutes and 2.5 left on the clock. So keep an eye out for a lot of traffic coming out in the next couple of minutes.
Sir Sharks has actually left the session. We hope that's not a connection issue. However, Kurt has abandoned his lap, peeled into the pit lane. We don't actually have many cars out on track at the moment. The lead driver, it seems, is actually an Alfa Romeo. If we can figure out which one it is. It is Murphy, who yet to set a lap, but he's going to have actually a Ferrari in tow of Leclerc, so I wonder if he looks a little bit too far back for a tow to be given down the main straight, but it looks like Leclerc is actually peeled into the pit lane. Murphy now starting his lap on the medium compounded tires. Most of the drivers who set their current lap times on the hards have gone on to the mediums here.
And he's completely backed out.
It's a very cautious lap, I was going to say, but he's completely abandoned this lap. So Sharks rejoining the session, thankfully for that.
And just as we were on board with C. Murphy, Mecca, who was behind him at the back of the pack, has just set a 1:18.9 on his set of mediums. So as it currently stands, Murphy is the last person out on track, still yet to put in a lap. We can start to see a few drivers are starting to make their way out in the name of Danny, Miles and Maniac, all coming out looks potentially on medium tyres.
But we're seeing a lot of drivers who have yet to score a point. The likes of Mats, the likes of Leclerc, and Mecca is, well, McLaren, another team, has yet to score a point here early on this season. Mecca looking for his first IRL points, but a fourth place qualifying would be great for that McLaren team. As Murphy crosses the line of 123.8. We saw him back out of that lap. It looks like he's going to go on a push lap now. You see Rimac jump into 11th place. James F1 taking provisional pole on the medium compound of 4/10 faster than the Mercedes behind him. Absolutely nailing each and every sector. Toro Rosso next across the line. He's starting his lap. His Maniac. Liverpool Ewan unfortunately crashing out early in this session. Lando North in the McLaren making his presence known on the soft tire. Only less than a tenth faster than the racing point, but track positions, I'm sure you know, Kendo, all so important around here, where there's only about 2 or 3 turns that are really able to make a passing maneuver under.
It most certainly is, and the most dangerous ones, as we all know, is coming out the last turn and that long home straight, and within the sector 2 after the long sweep and right-hander. They're going to be the main talking points in the race. However, there are going to be opportunities if people do dare to, as we would say, break that little bit earlier, later, and try and outmaneuver your opponent, because on this track it's going to be a very tactical mind game as to where you plant the car and making your opponent think that you are going to be going down and getting sent one while you in fact go. But all about mind games, especially on this and the likes of Monaco.
Maniac up into 7th place. Watching DJ Danny now jump into 3rd. So a decent qualifying for the Renault driver. He's always looking to get onto that front row. His teammate in Rimac has not had the same luck. Currently sitting outside the top 10. We've eclipsed 3 minutes now in this qualifying session. As looks like another driver has jumped up in the charts. James F1 still holding that 2nd position. Will we see either one of those on the medium tires try to challenge those on the soft, likes of Lando North in the McLaren, likes of Leclerc in the Williams on the soft compound of tires? They will almost certainly be pinned to a 2-stop strategy around this Barcelona circuit. Let's see if we can find the driver who is next across the line. I believe Rimac is going to be on and in the lap. He's not actually. He's staying out to try to do another lap, just try to get as many laps as he can on those medium tires. He jumps into 9th, so an improvement for Rimac, but again, not what he's looking for. Under 2 minutes now, we could see plenty of cars head out onto the track. Matt's now starting his lap as well. His teammate has actually come up behind him. He might get a little bit of a slipstream from his teammate. Fairmoto can't quite continue his good run of form that he's had, that is extended into last week at Belgium. It hasn't quite carried over into Spain. Williams starting his lap, actually collecting a little bit of grass as HK heads into provisional pole on the medium tires, 2/10 faster than Lando North in 2nd place. The Haas is next to cross the line of Liam Hardman. He can't improve on his time. His next driver to cross is going to be potentially Rimac, it looks like, in 10th position, trying to... Do you think he'll just peel into the pits here? He has everything turned down. He has a Mercedes closing at a rate of knots behind him. He's going to want to, he's taken, actually, to a little bit of part of the unused track to get out of the way of the Mercedes, so driving there. That's actually invalidated his lap, and his teammate hadn't had much better luck because he's actually now starting his lap. The Ferrari of Leclerc next across the line. Time can he come up with? Not good enough for 12th, so he's actually going to try for another lap here. Williams now. Fairmoto has actually jumped into 11th place. Qualifying is over. The two Red Bulls coming across the line now. They've both peeled into the pit, so HK sitting on provisional pole. Can anybody else top a 1:17.8? Lando North trying to change that in the McLaren, change McLaren's fortunes altogether. Looks like we only have a few more drivers still on laps. Jamie 29 will come across next. It's been a tumultuous start for Mercedes as a team, much less each and every one of their drivers they've had so far. But he's going to come across this final corner. He's on the soft compounded tire. He's going to come across, move himself up into the top 10. So first top 10 qualifying for Mercedes here so far. Can Lando North or James F1? It's actually James F1 that's next. That was Sir Sharks who's next to cross the line. He jumps up into 7th place. Lando North next to cross the line. Can he beat DXT HK's 1:17.8? No, he can't improve on his lap. James F1, the only person that can still beat that time. Fairmoto can also do it, but it doesn't quite look likely. James F1 might just be taking his time here. He's going to peel into the pit lane. And that will pretty much do it for qualifying. So HK taking pole yet again, actually. He took pole last week at Spa. And Kendo, we have a few drivers a bit out of position, likes of Rimac down in 13th. Murphy, who is trying to go 3 for 3 on 4th place finishes, all the way down in 16th position. We'll have Scartrix, the winner, or actually 2nd place driver in our first race. He'll be starting at the back of the field. DJ Danny in 4th place alongside James F1. The top 3 from the last race have been bested by HK and Lando North. We could see, well, I'm hoping we see another great battle between those 4 drivers here yet again.
Yeah, 100%. Bear in mind, guys, we are not necessarily well, we can potentially assume that there's been a strategy call, so potentially they are gambling. Let's say, for example, if a rain's going to come earlier or anything like that. Us as commentators aren't necessarily sure what the weather's going to be like. Sometimes drivers do set themselves up for a part of the race. Again, we will soon find how that plays out. But you're right, some of them drivers are well out of position for how they have been racing. But it'll be interesting to see how they make their way through the pack. But again, they've got to make sure they keep their noses out of trouble in that first couple of corners and then start making a charge up the field. So as we can see on the grid, you had HK on pole position in the Red Bull, Lando North in the McLaren, with James F1 in 3rd, DJ Danny 4th, Miles in 5th, Leclerc's in 6th, Sharks in 7th, Wees in 8th, Lee in 9th, and Mexa in 10. And that wraps up your top 10, who all will have to start on them tyres. And it was quite interesting to find that there was quite a mixture of tyre strategies there. I was fully expecting a lot of drivers coming out at the last minute and going on the softs.
No, only 2, or actually 3 drivers inside the top 10 starting on the soft compounded tire. Lando North, Leclerc in the Williams and Mecca in that McLaren, who was in the top 5 at one point. But as you mentioned there, rounding out the top 10, Mecca in that McLaren. McLaren's best qualifying so far. They hadn't qualified inside the top 10 all season. They've done so with both drivers here at Spain. That 6th row is an all-Scottish 6th row, Jamie 29 and Maniac. And then another Scotsman behind him, Rimac in the Renault. He's alongside Ferramoto. Leclerc 16, down in 15th for Ferrari, not where he wanted to be, and also not where X Murphy wanted to be in the Alfa Romeo. And Liam Hardman in the Haas has had a very chaotic start to his season. He's joined by Liverpool Ewan in the Toro Rosso, who crashed out halfway through qualifying. So the likes of, I could say the likes of Rimac, Leclerc, Murphy for sure, well out of position. But the thing they have going for them, Kendo, a free tire choice.
And that sometimes can be an advantage going into the race. But again, for them drivers that are in that position, they have to be able to keep their noses out of trouble. It's going to be quite a bunched up field because you have to be prepared for people to brake early, because with people in front of them having to brake earlier as well, because you don't necessarily know if people are going to lock up or anything like that. So it's going to be crucial for them people in the middle of the pack to get their noses out of trouble, and then they can press on and potentially end up pushing their way up into the front of the race.
Well, we can confirm Scartrix has come into this race. He's actually going to be in a Ferrari just because of the way the game works. It assigns you to the top-tiered car, in this case Ferrari. So his points will still go to Haas, not Ferrari. So just keep that one in mind as we follow him along. You'll have to find him all the way at the back of the grid. He missed qualifying on this occasion. Man who had pole position in Abu Dhabi couldn't convert that into a win, is going to try to do his best to climb up the field once more. I think, Kendo, those starting outside the top 10 might not be a bad idea to just go on the hards.
Exactly right, considering, as we well know, the hards will be taking yourself into the race very, very well. And if they do that, then the softs come into play, and that is going to be very crucial at the end of a race, because will people be looking to set the fastest laps at the end, where they're on the lowest amount of fuel and being able to push the car to its full potential. But again, we've just got to see how the race pans out. Because as you've just been saying there are only, looks like, 4 drivers currently set themselves out on the hard tyres. Scartrix being one, Liverpool Ewan, Liam FD, as well as Rimac. So Rimac's potentially looking at that fastest lap at the end of a race. So hopefully, with him being in P13, he can keep his nose out of trouble and have a good race today.
Well, Rimac in the F2 League over on the PS4 side, having a podium snatched away from him on the final corner. In a very wet Spain. It looks like it's completely dry here today, so we should see the full 210 miles an hour that these V6 turbo hybrids can provide for us. We can see a lot of weaving there from the front runner in HK. He's going to have a bit of a hard time potentially keeping Lando Norris in that McLaren behind him down into turn 1. He's starting on the soft tire. They're going to go off quicker, but he's going to get a lot more grip heading into turn 1.
Exactly right, and as the drivers are starting to make their way around the final few corners, for this formation lap, it's been very important, especially for them medium to hard tyre runners, being able to get your tyres up to temperature. Have they been able to do that? And you'll soon find out when they start the race. That'll be the difference between getting a good start on the grid and those that are on the soft, being able to get past you. Can you defend going into turn 1? We'll soon find out.
HK doing a pretty good job there, keeping the pack bunched up, not getting hung out to dry on the grid as the final car comes to rest now. First time we're in Spain on the Xbox. We have 4 lights, 5 lights. It is lights out and away we go. Red Bull gets a pretty good start. A lot of wheel spin from a few of the drivers, but Lando Norris gets a horrendous start in that McLaren. Might already get passed by DJ Denny, who tucks back in, getting that slipstream. It's HK, and James has moved up into, he made a little bit of contact with the McLaren. DJ Denny's going to have a look around the outside, but that is not the line you want to be on. The Renault getting hung out to dry already here at the start. Jamie 29 getting left at the back as he might have tangled with Sir Sharks. As you can see, the two of them on the track back there. Sir Sharks still stationary. He hasn't retired from the race as of yet, but right now it is his teammate James F1 in second, trying to chase down the Red Bull of HK McLaren, actually finding his way up into 5th place. DXT Miles falling down into 6th, but the two of them still dueling that one out. They're still all over each other. You can see all the cars coming through this back straight here. The Mercedes looking to have a little look at the McLaren. Mecca falling down the order once more. He got himself up into 7th place, but now sees himself all the way back down into 9th. He's still gained a place on this opening lap, but not as many as he would have hoped. But HK on lap 1 will lead us across the line for the first time. That James is going to have a massive slipstream on the Red Bull with that Honda-powered engine soaring down the main straight. James have a little look at the Red Bull, not on this occasion, but DJ Denny has done well to go around the outside and get past the McLaren of Lando Norris. The medium tires already kicking in for the Renault driver, who's trying to maintain his podium streak. He's already stepped onto the podium twice this season out of 2 as he goes fastest in the first sector, but he's going to look to try to make that 3 out of 3 here this week at Spain. We have a pass in the pit lane of Liam Hardman, which you can see now HK is starting to spread that gap as James gets a little bit out of shape there. Mecca might have a little bit more of a run at Maniac now as we head through turn 9. As you can see them all filing through here. Everybody's still quite bunched together. The front 4 starting to peel away a little bit, but rather those front 4 starting to fan away from each other. It's been a pretty calm start. You see typically a safety car on lap 1 around here. It does usually happen at Spain. Liam Hardman has pitted, changed his wing, and gone on to a fresh set of mediums as you see multiple drivers setting fastest lap. DJ Danny a 1:22.0 from the Renault driver. DXT Miles gonna have a look now at the Williams on the soft compound of tires. The Williams has the inside. Miles braking later. He holds the inside line, gets that move done, but I don't think the Williams is going to give up that position all that easily. Might look to have another go at him, but he's got Matt's now, who's also on the soft compound of tires, starting to close in that Mercedes, who runs a little bit wide as Liverpool Ewan now into the pit lane. We saw him crash out during qualifying, but he is now in 18th place, is pitted. Fresh medium tires now for the Toro Rosso. I think 3 laps in now, as HK is still leading this one. We can start to see a little bit of a gap forming from the top 4 Kendo to the rest of the field.
You most certainly can, and I just say after P4, you've got a huge train from P6 or P5 all the way down to P12. And it
made a little bit of contact there, did the Toro Rosso and the Williams, but Maniac getting that move done. The soft tires do not look like the ones to be on at the moment. You see Lando Norris falling down the field quite quickly now. DJ Danny going 2/10 faster than his previous lap. You can see the Williams about to get past yet again. Lee now in the Red Bull pulling out wide. Can he do what we saw moments ago? Not on this occasion. Williams holding that inside line with the Red Bull is going to be all over his gearbox. Medium compound of tires is Moto now into the pit lane as well, but James F1 has actually done well to start to close the gap, but DJ Danny is all over the back of the Racing Point. That Mercedes engine not quite giving the straight line speed, it seems, that James F1 is needing in that pink Racing Point, but trying to close down HK, trying to close the gap to James is Danny. Now they head down with DRS for James F1 and Danny. Nothing happening on this occasion for the two drivers in behind. They possibly just trying to take their time, save these tires a little bit, Kendo, and maybe have another look later as Williams and Red Bull having another scrap at it again. As you see Lee there getting past the Williams. Kendo, how much longer do you think these drivers on the soft compounded tire can stay out?
Wait, at a push, I would probably say you fully expect people to start hitting at its peak, as in if the tyres are about to go off, potentially looking at laps 10 or 11 at the most. That's if they're really wanting to push them tyres all the way to the max. However, those that are, as we have contact up there, it's like the Leclerc's had sustained some damage going across there.
He went wheel to wheel with the McLaren of Mecca, but unfortunately he's found himself coming off worse. He didn't even take it easy through this turn. Those tires possibly a little bit overheated, a bit worn as well. We were on board with DJ Danny, and I'm wondering if that might be a cue for Williams to bring their guy in, get him off those soft tires, because we've seen almost every single soft runner start to fall down the field. Orlando North, who's actually done a great job in that fourth position.
Well, exactly. This is why, as well, car setups, tyre management, is we see Leclerc's...
Oh, and he's gone off.
He's lost it. He got on the outside of the turn where he currently is parked. He's parked on the right-hand side of the track. He completely lost the car on the left-hand side and completely spun the car and went into the wall, as you can see on the screen.
The safety car is out, and surely all of those, as you see there, on the soft tire heading into the pit lane. We have a few medium runners as well who may have picked up damage. TJ Danny among the likes of them. Going on to the hards. Kendo, I don't know if those hard tires, they might get to the end before they pop, but are they going to be in a raceable condition at the end of this race?
Well, I know for a fact that they can get to the end at this point. I've actually raced Spain myself on the hards. I had an incident lap 5, so I know that they can get to the end. However, it is a nightmare coming into the last few laps of the race, so expect 2 to 3 laps to go of the race. People who are looking to go all the way to the end on them hard tyres, they are going to suffer the last few laps, but it is doable.
Almost everybody from 8th place down has come into the pit lane at least once in this race. DJ Danny, Lando Nor in the McLaren, Matt's in the Mercedes, and Lee as well. Mecca, Murphy, Ewan, Fairmoto, Sir Sharks, Jamie 29, and Liam Hardman all making pit stops already in this race. But the interesting thing is that everybody on fresh tires.
HK's gone in. Just up there, yeah.
HK into the pit lane along with James F1. Now this will be interesting. Which one of them will potentially pick a 2-stop strategy, and which of them is going to go onto the hards? The Red Bull looks like he's going to go onto.
Now watch James as well, so you can see what's going on with both.
Tire Mecca has a drive-through penalty.
James on hard.
Speeding under the safety car. Front 2 onto the hard tires. HK. As Danny actually gets past James F1 in the pit lane, so that pit stop actually costing a little bit of time as he loses a couple places there. McLaren has actually managed to undercut him under the safety car. So it'll be interesting to see, but McLaren actually is almost pinned to a 2-stop strategy, Kendo. I don't see those mediums getting all the way to the end of this race with about 26 laps to go.
No, I 100% agree with you. The people that have pitted for the medium tyres will most certainly have to pit again. But like we were discussing at the start of the session, they potentially could be looking to start to push to get that fastest lap at the end of the race. So they might be thinking, I'm not going to get the maximum points. There's some quality drivers out there at the front of the field. I want to try and maximise my points. So potentially trying to push that fastest lap to gain as much points as they possibly can.
You see all the drivers weaving around, trying to get heat into those tires. You still have another lap around the safety car, but the only 4 drivers that didn't come in under this incident that has unfortunately seen the Williams crash out of this race after losing the back end in turn 9. Maniac, Scartrix, Rimac, and Leclerc with a track that is as hard to pass on, Kendo, as Spain. Could it be actually a good call to hold track position here in Barcelona?
Yes and no. If you're on the right tyre, so those people that are, say, like Scartrix, Rimac, who are on the hard tyre, will go a long way into the race. They are probably in the best suited position for the race. Same with HK, that is in P5 at the moment. We are aware of the fact that Leclerc and Rimac will more than likely have to pit, but at the moment they're not degrading their tyres a great deal, so they can prolong their stints well into the race. It's all about that tyre management for Leclerc and Maniac as it currently stands. Can they make the most of this safety car conditions at the moment? Only time will tell.
As far as penalties, nobody actually has one. We saw Mecca pick up a 5-second penalty, which on his next pit stop he will have to serve. He's on the medium, so he will surely have to pit again. He also picked up a drive-through penalty, so a good day for McLaren has turned upside down here early on, but Lando finding himself in 7th position. He pitted under this safety car, as we could definitely see that safety car come in this lap. He pitted under the safety car as we see confirmation of the safety car coming in right there. Can the Toro Rosso bunch up the pack and get a good jolt away? Still trying to weave and get heat into those tires, taking this very slowly, allowing plenty of time for that safety car to peel into the pit lane. He hasn't even gone through half of the 3rd sector as we come into the chicane now. As the car turned up all the way, when will he go? He will do so now, but Scartrix may have read that perfectly. He's in the Ferrari, as you see on the screen, but that's what he was put in, joining late in the qualifying. But he was a great launch from Ferrari in behind him. Fermoto has already gotten past Liverpool Ewan in the Toro Rosso. So one Toro Rosso in the lead of this race, the other one finding himself down in 15th position. And that lead of this race still belongs to DXT HK unless we have another safety car here, and that would completely throw this race for a bit of a spin. See, Lando Norris actually getting past DJ Daniel, the two of them swapping positions as the McLaren is going to look to go down the inside of the championship leader yet again, and actually can he get the move done? Not on this occasion. There's still wheel to wheel. Danny winning that one out here, but I don't think that is the last we have seen of these two. Lando Norris on a much quicker tire. He peels out to the inside as DJ Daniel actually getting past Leclerc in that situation, who stayed out under the safety car. So the Ferrari starting to drop down the field as part of that tire strategy. We can see now he's starting to lose ground to those that did pit already. So Lando Norris tucking in behind, just picking his moment to overtake the Ferrari. And Jamie 29 is unfortunately left the session from 17th position. Hopefully we get him back soon, but now will Lando Norris have a little bit of a look with that slipstream, with the fresher rubber. He's now under also attack from the Racing Point. James coming around the outside. Can he have that move done by the time we get into turn 3. The McLaren dips onto the grass a little bit. That's going to bring him under attack from DXT Miles. He goes around the outside. Well, Lando Norris, through turns 1 and 2, has lost 1 and 2 positions as well. So it turned into a possible opportunity to attack Leclerc, has turned into a detriment. The Racing Point and the Alfa Romeo of Miles getting past him as well. Miles' teammate Murphy finding himself all the way down into 13th position, but everybody's starting to spread out once more. The closest battle on track actually is Lando Norris and DXT Miles, as the lead is starting to make up ground on mats in the Mercedes. And down into the hairpin, he's laid on the brakes, nearly runs square into the back of that Mercedes gearbox. Well, but Lee is going to have to possibly back out of this one. Max is on a much faster tire than he is on the hard compound. Now Scartrix might try to have a little bit of a look. His DRS now enabled, but he doesn't have it on this occasion. Just the slipstream and his raw pace. He looks to go down the outside. He looks to keep that position, and a great move from Scartrix to get into the lead. This is we start lap 11. Mecha now into the pit lane. You wonder if that's damage there. Maniac now also has actually completely lost it in turn 1. You wonder what happened there with the Toro Rosso. I'm still not too sure. He's put it in the neutral. It doesn't look like he's missing a wheel or anything. Maniac has actually left the session as well, so we have a few drivers starting to leave now. We hope that doesn't continue through here in this session. Lando Norris now trying to hunt down Leclerc in front of him. Ferrari getting teed up by the McLaren. Can't quite get the move done on this occasion. Scartrix is still the 1 second lead at the front over HK. Scartrix actually crossing the line first in Abu Dhabi, had that one taken away from him by the game just being not quite where it needs to be in that scenario. But it does have to be said, Kendo 11 laps on hards and started all the way from the back of the grid, finds himself in first place.
And that all comes down to, as we've talked about, having that tyre choice and being smart going into the first couple of laps, being able to keep your nose out of trouble, being able to push your way through the field. We all know, for those people that race with Scartrix, he is a good driver, and the likes of HK know that he's a very dangerous opponent on the track. He's a clean driver, but a very dangerous one to be up against, especially with him being at the front.
All too familiar with each other. Rimac, James F1, and Miles. Now, Rimac's actually been hit with a 3-second time penalty as Maniac peeling into the pit lane, so we're not sure entirely what that was all about. James F1 now into 4th position. Rimac starting to possibly regret that he didn't pit under that safety car, as you can see. Now Miles is all over the back of that Works Renault. But Scartrix is actually starting to pull out a little bit of a gap. He's done 11 laps on the hard tires compared to HK, who's done about half of that. Leclerc now getting past down into 8th position. The McLaren runs a little bit out wide, and they have a whole host of cars. Leclerc is going to take back 7th position. Where will this put the McLaren as we head into turn 1? He's been passed yet again. He might get to go 3 wide into turn 1. That could have been, it almost gets a little bit of contact from the back. A great bit of driving to save that one. We saw the Red Bull swinging out wide into turn 3. It is all happening down in the middle of the field. You see the Red Bull just trying to keep pace. As you can see, Lando Norris all over the place in that McLaren. 7 laps on the medium compound of tires. I wonder if those are starting to go off a little bit quicker than planned in that McLaren, but so far Scartrix leading this race with 20 laps to go. 1.1 seconds is the gap. DRS yet again for some of driver's fair moto, and as he actually makes a little bit of contact with the Toro Rosso, and that might open up the door for Sir Sharks on the hard tires and pull Ewan. Some much colder tires than he actually has to take to the escape road. They might pick up a warning or even a penalty for it. Doesn't pop up with a penalty, but he's under attack. Yet again, he doesn't have DRS, but the car behind does. He may have seen the Toro Rosso in his mirrors, but now has to look in front. He goes back to the racing line, and now Sir Sharks might have a look down the inside, and that is great overtaking and a great dive bomb from the racing point. Sir Sharks up in the 12th position, trying to gain a few more places that he lost earlier in this race. You see Miles is starting to reel in Sharks' teammate, James F1. As you can see, the Toro Rosso of Maniac about to be lapped. And you're wondering, Kendo, I'm trying to figure out at what lap these mediums are starting to go off, because we've seen differing success with these tires, but for the likes of Miles, as far as a time to pit, it could be within the next 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah, I don't know who just went off the track there. Looks like it's Matt's. Just as you were saying, Matt, I just caught a glimpse of someone going into the gravel trap. As you can clearly see, he's got quite a bit of damage on that front left. So he, as we've just been talking about having to pit, I fully expect him, as he's going into the pits. But if we're talking about when drivers should be going into the pit, I would expect it's around 13 or 14 laps into their tyres that on the medium they should be going in.
So Leclerc head into the pit lane off the medium tires. He stayed out under the safety car, did 14 laps on his original set, is now on hard compounded tire in that Ferrari, down in 16th place. DJ Danny is trying to just maintain this gap to HK in front, about 0.6 of a second now, as he has DRS on the car in front, but these two are starting to catch Scartrix, who also stayed out under that safety car on the hard tire. He's done almost double the laps that all the way down to 5th place has done. The likes of HK, Danny, James F1, and Miles have all only done 8 or 9 laps on their hard tires, and Miles on the mediums as well. So it'll be interesting to see here as Danny gets a great run off the final corner with DRS open for himself, but as well as HK. It didn't really make a difference at the end of the day. He doesn't gain too much time, but both of them gaining about 1.5 on the Ferrari ahead of them. But Scartrix finding pace here in this first sector to try to keep them at a distance. Liverpool Ewan finding himself up into 8th place. Miles now might try to have a look at the racing point of James F1, is trying to just be later on the brakes there, but doesn't quite pay off for him. Miles is going to have to pit again. We don't think I don't think James is going to have to pit again. He's only done 9 laps. I think the hard tires in his position, those that pitted onto the hards under that safety car, might be in good shape to head to the end of the race.
Yeah, exactly, because as I mentioned about before, it is possible to go from at least lap 5, because I know that from my experience on this track, going from lap 5 all the way to the end, it is doable. The last couple of laps will be tough on them tyres, but again, tyre management will play a huge part of the end of a race, because we've talked about Scartrix at the front of the pack doing a really good job trying to hold HK and Danny up behind him, but bear in mind Scartrix will have to pit because he started on them hard tyres, so bear in mind at the minute HK is net P1 before all the completed pit stops are done.
Well, a few more overtakes down that main straight. Liverpool Ewan getting past the Red Bull Endo Norris, who had actually had his place taken for that ninth position, regained it down the main straight thanks to the drag reduction system. Everything starting to settle down ever so slightly, but with a whole host of different strategies going on here as we're on board now with DXT Miles, who has DRS on the racing point in front of him. Might not be able to get the move done on this occasion. You can see there, James F1, that red light flashing on the gearbox of that racing point, harvesting energy. He's going to do everything he can to keep the Alfa Romeo at bay. He's going to have DRS down the main straight. He's going to probably crank the car all the way up to try to maintain that fourth position. You've hit half race distance now. Lap 18 of 33. 60 Miles gonna have a look down the inside of the racing point. There's still wheel to wheel. They make a little bit of contact. It is still wheel to wheel racing. Miles up into fourth position. Now finally gets in front of the racing point. A great bit of driving there. I say rubbing is racing, and these two took that one straight to heart.
Yeah, that was extremely tense there by the two drivers of James and Miles, side by side, but it goes to show the confidence that they have in one another and the respect to not push each other off the track. Just shows how much of a competitive league that this is at the field at the moment.
Well, that gap for Scartrix at the front used to be 1.3 seconds, is now about 4/10 as the Red Bull of HK and the Renault of Danny have reeled him in. I don't think HK will be able to have a look with DRS down this main straight into turn one on this occasion. He actually might do. He's gaining and gaining. Will he pull out on this occasion? Not here into turn one as we've completed 18 laps. We're on lap 19 now. You can just see the grip, Kendo, at 6 lap younger tires, giving HK through that turn 3 there, especially, which is such a horizontal force on these cars, especially as the tires start to give away.
Exactly right, and this is where the strategy needs to come in from Scartrix. Does he, if he pits now, he has to go on to the mediums. However, if he wants to go on to the softs, he has to prolong his strategy for at least another 10, maybe 10 so laps at the most. However, it all depends on what sort of setup he has on the car. He can come in early for softs, but again, it's all about whether he wants to go play the long game and go for fastest lap on the softs, or does he want to try and get track position on the mediums as we see him go in pits now.
He's headed into the pit lane, which will still keep HK with DRS down the main straight, but he won't have the benefit of the slipstream. Will we see DJ Danny pull out to the inside? The Renault and the Red Bull going wheel to wheel. Danny's around. They've made contact. Danny is around as he tried to go for a move into turn one. He might get in the way of a few other drivers. DJ Danny relegated all the way down to fourth position. He'll be saying that HK cut him off. HK will be saying he came right into me. That one will certainly be looked at by the stewards later on in this race, but as of now, it is Miles is into second place, 6.1 second gap. I mean, Kendo, we watched it happen. I'm not really too sure what to think of that one. But yeah, I mean, do you have any thoughts on that one, maybe?
Well, especially when it comes to things that need to be taken, which I will assume be taken up to the steward. It's, again, not really things for ourselves to greatly talk about, as you've said, for both sides of the argument. So it all depends on how the steward's interpretation of what they see comes into play. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. We've had a couple of people talk about their drivers, noticing that Liverpool Ewan to P7 from last, which just goes to show he has had so far a very good drive indeed.
James F1 starting to gain more and more time with the hard compound of tire. They've both done 14 laps except Miles, and those yellow striped mediums. You see Liverpool Ewan pitting now as well. We're up to 13th position courtesy of Liam Hardman and Ferramoto pitting a couple laps ago for what would presume to be their final stops of the race. DJ Danny is going to have to make up a lot of ground here as we have a yellow flag in Sector 1. It looks like McLaren has gone off, so what was a good start for McLaren has ended, well, has gone pretty poorly. Now, in addition to some poor performances, IRL F1 Maniac has retired from another Grand Prix. He has yet to finish a race this season. We saw him disconnect at one point in the race, come back, and was a lap down. As now HK into the pits off of the hard tires, which is an interesting call because Miles has actually done 15 laps on the mediums, so we'll have to do about 12 laps. Actually, yeah, about 12 laps on the medium tire to get them to the end, which should be, if DXT Miles' time is anything to go by, right in the window of where he needs to be. But that puts DJ Danny up into third place yet again. So Renault with just a ton of pace around here, no matter what tire he's on. Has shown that even after a little bit of a spin due to contact with HK, which put him down into 6th position. He's come back all the way through the field courtesy of a few pit stops. But is now right on the gearbox yet again of James F1. But just keep in mind, Kendo, that Danny has that one extra lap on his tires. He pitted immediately as the safety car came out. James F1 did not. So 1 lap difference, does that matter at all?
That will most certainly make all the difference coming into the final few laps, because as we've mentioned, as I've mentioned at the start, it's going to be a challenge, especially with 2 or 3 laps to go. The longer that they have been on their medium, it is going to be an ice rink out there at the end of the race, especially on them hards that have gone a long way into this race. I can tell you that from personal experience.
You can see Scartrix there in that Ferrari, who isn't supposed to be there, but he should be in the Hassel if his points will head to Haas. Has moved himself up into 4th place, so it is the Red Bulls 5th and 6th at the moment, but on entirely different strategies as well. With DJ Danny now actually potentially forcing James F1 into that penalty to just keep the Renault behind. This is a Renault that's just been charging through the field all afternoon. James keeping him behind on this occasion. You wonder, when does Miles come into the pit lane? Because he's done as many laps on the mediums as the 2 behind him have done on the hards. He's actually done pretty well to keep these 2 behind. It could end here. Miles rather peeling to the inside, trying to cover off that line. The 2 behind him with DRS. Will DJ Danny possibly have a little look? Will they make it 3 wide as nothing occurs on that occasion? HK setting the fastest lap of a 120.3. As you can just see there, the grip that Miles still has through turn 3, which is typically one of the hardest corners on the calendar on tires. He's done well to keep them in the condition that he has. You think Kendo's setup might actually be lending itself to a bit of tire saving?
Most certainly looks that way, and as we've talked about at the start of a race, time management can be part of the strategy, or going flat out fast into the race. It's all about having that compromise for some drivers to be able to prolong their tyres Some like to be aggressive and do a two-stop. Some like to try and prolong it out and just try and minimise the amount of wheel spin, the amount of degradation in the tyres, which allows them to be able to be stronger at the end of the race compared to having to hang on at the end. And it's all about having that right balance for your driving style.
James F1 might have a little look now. The gap was 3/10 exiting the final corner. Will he peel to the inside? Not on this occasion, but DJ Danny may have fancied himself a little look at the inside, but James doing well to cover off that line ever so slightly, not really allow any sort of lane for that Renault to slot into. This battle at the front is one that we saw last week, and finished in the order of this. Local Ewan getting past Rimac in 7th position. You see there, just the Toro Rosso with a little bit more grip than that Renault.
And as you're talking about tyre grip, you can clearly see Miles's tyres are starting to go. He's missing his apexes. He's not quite hitting where he would like to be. As you can see, he slightly goes wide on that corner, so you can start to see he is feeling it out there. His tyres are starting to hurt, so it's potentially the time to pit, which coincidentally...
And he peels into the pit lane.
Does.
That does give James F1 DRS down the main straight. The detection zone is actually before the pit entrance, but he doesn't have the slipstream that DJ Danny has. Can Danny make this move that he tried to for first position? On this occasion, they're still wheel-to-wheel through turn 2. James F1 remains in first position after great wheel-to-wheel racing that we've seen from DJ Danny a few times in this race, but the slipstream quite powerful here in Spain. As they head down back into the middle sector for another look, as DJ Danny had himself a little look as he's now all over the back of that racing point. He's actually now lost a little bit of time due to that look. Lando North trying to win McLaren their first points of the season. They took a penalty last week and actually sees them on -2 points, so trying to get them back on par with everyone else. Just a few points will do for them, but Mecca, who hasn't had the best of times, qualified well. They both qualified inside the top 10 for the first time this season. Both find themselves sitting outside the points once more. His lead at the front has changed about, I counted 5 times. Kendo, we've seen a whole host of different drivers as DJ Danny got himself a little bit out of shape there coming around the final corner. He did have DRS because he did pass the detection zone. That could be a sign, Kendo, that these 20 and 21 lap old hard tires are starting to fade away. And does that bring Scartrix and HK right back into this race?
Yeah, exactly that. Due to the fact that obviously we've talked about tyre management and having the car set up correctly. It looks like James and Danny have an aggressive setup, and especially Danny, because as you mentioned, you can see him starting to make a couple of slight noticeable mistakes for his style of driving. And could that be a motivator for Scartrix? As you well say, with 7 lap old tyres, and you've got HK that is right up his back end. It's trying to say to Scartrix, let's catch these two. Will they work together or will they battle each other? That's going to be the next question, because we've currently got still quite a long way to go. It's lap 27 of 33. Still early days to try and make aggressive moves. So let's see if Scartrix and HK can work together to get themselves into that front 2 battle.
Well, another thing of note as well, James, we saw his HK down the inside of Scartrix, but outbreaks himself and has to take to the escape rope. Will he maintain the lead as they're still wheel-to-wheel through turn 3? He gets a much better exit off of that corner, but has to slot back in the 4th position. You mentioned aggressive moves, and that was certainly one there from the Red Bull. Another thing of note, Kendo, James is carrying that 3-second time penalty, which DJ Danny had almost forced him into, is pushing him around the final sector and making a mistake the racing point, and it certainly will hamper James's ability to try and close out this race. But gap that was 1.1 seconds is now 4/10 to the car in front, so Danny possibly just doing a little bit of energy saving there for the last 2 laps rather, and is now trying to put in some good lap times, 5/10 as they exit the corner. DRS for both drivers, courtesy of the lapped car in front. I believe that is Matt, who is the lapped Mercedes. Blue flag and ghosting enabled on this occasion, which will actually just allow these two to cruise right on past without much of an issue. 4 laps to go here from Barcelona. It has been a fantastic race throughout the whole entire time. Akendo, 4.5 seconds now, the gap from DJ Danny to Scartrix. Is that enough to close that gap with the fresh medium tires and bring the Haas and the Red Bull back into this race?
The fact of the matter that, as I say it, at the moment, Scartrix potentially does not know James has a penalty. And because of that, he is not focused on whereabouts in the race he is. He's more focused on trying to get as close as he can to DJ Danny. If he was more aware of the penalty that James potentially, as we know he has, but Scartrix is more than likely not aware, because Jeff only tells you the car in front. And if that was the case, potentially HK and Scartrix would be working together to try and get into that podium position.
Danny has gone down the inside, trying to get the move done through turn 1. Does just that. DJ Danny on track into the lead of this race. Renault trying to take his 2nd victory of the season. With 3 laps to go, potentially they might still have to fend off the likes of Scartrix and HK, as we were just speaking of before.
And just a little bit of information as well. Currently, the fastest lap driver is currently set by DXT Miles, who is set at 1:19.7. That is the fastest current lap out on track. And your biggest gainer in this race has actually been Scartrix, moved up 16 positions. And with the next person is Liverpool Ewan, moved up 11 positions.
You can see the battle for 5th position here. The Red Bull trying to be a rear gunner for his teammate and keep Miles behind, who has gone onto the soft tires. Has pulled himself right back into this race, but now James, with that DRS, brought himself to within 2/10 of the Renault in front, as HK now gets past Scartrix and into the podium positions. Miles also getting ahead of HK's teammate in the Red Bull, so one Red Bull moving up, the other moving down. Miles doesn't look like he's going to be able to repeat his winning performance last week from Spa, but Kendo, 2 laps to go, 2.7 seconds now is the gap from HK to James F1, and keep in mind that James has that 3-second penalty, so as things stand, HK is actually in 2nd position. As you see, 2 drivers who've been scrapping at it almost all day. DJ Danny, James F1, coming to within probably about a fingernail of each other there. It does have to be said as they come through the final chicane now. Is this where that extra lap of tire use by DJ Danny starts to come into play? DRS open for the Racing Point. Get moved on. He's gaining, and on this occasion, DJ Denny still holding that advantage. We can see a lot of battery usage as we head into lap 32 of 33. A lot of battery saved up in that Racing Point, but HK has gained to 1.3 seconds behind, so this could see HK come back into the conversation right on the final lap, along with Scartrix as well. Right now, the podium would stand as DJ Danny, HK, and Scartrix due to James's penalty with DRS once more for the Racing Point, as you see there in the back. Scartrix with DRS on HK as well, but let's see here. James F1 actually gained quite a bit of time through that final sector and is still gaining time on the Renault of DJ Danny. Get a good exit out of turn 16, 4/10, and closing is the gap to the Renault behind. DJ Danny covers off the inside line. Will the Racing Point peel to the outside? It was a late move from DJ Danny, and still moving is DJ Danny with James F1 into first place on track, getting the move done with every last drop of battery power he has in that Racing Point. But that has brought HK and Scartrix right back into this race here on the final lap. The Red Bull might try to get a better exit as he swings out wide there, get as much straight line speed on the Renault that he can. He can't quite get a move done. You don't see many moves done here before the DRS zone, but certainly this is only helping out James F1 pull away. HK now gaining pulls to the outside. Can he get the move done out there as DJ Danny just shows him the outside of the track and actually turns a little bit more to make sure of that move. A little bit naughty there from the Renault driver. That has allowed James F1 to peel away even more to about a second, but as it goes down the inside there goes HK, and it's all popping off here. James F1 will cross the line in first position, but due to his time penalty, DJ Danny will take home victory here in Spain with HK and Scartrix rounding out the podium positions. What a way to close out this one. NXT Elite for Red Bull crossing the line in 6th position. Ewan confirming his 7th place, and Rimac with a few time penalties himself might see Sir Sharks jump in front of him, as you see there. It might actually, it probably won't give Mendo Norris, who picks up McLaren's first point of the season. They are off the mark. For Mercedes, however, not so much the case. Jamie 29 actually doing a great job. 27 laps on the hard tires as he comes through for the final time. Murphy will finish in 14th position. Jamie 29 in 15th. Max, the other Mercedes, finishing right next to his teammate in 16th is Liam Hardman. 17th position for the Haas. And then we lost 2 drivers as well in this race. Maniac and Leclerc not quite complete the full 33 laps, but Kendo, what a race that one was there.
And most certainly was, and you could see the fact that HK was desperate to get the move done right at the death. DJ Danny doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and it goes to show keeping his cool has helped him win this race. And speaking of DJ Danny, we've got currently in the commentary booth, just to have a little bit of a talk, currently DJ Danny and Scartrix here with us at the moment. Still waiting for HK to jump in if he's able to. Just make sure you include your audio, guys.
Yeah, please do that. We have had a few drivers in the past that have given us lengthy monologues and nobody heard a single thing. It was nice silence in the end. Danny, 2 wins on the season now. You had one taken away from you last week at Spa. Was this a little bit of revenge for yourself?
A little bit, yeah. I was kind of obviously Spa last week. It was my own fault getting it taken away. I'm not going to lay blame elsewhere. It was my own fault for getting myself the penalty. But I thought I was desperate to win this one, and towards the end, I knew that obviously James had a time penalty, and I knew the guys like HK and Scartrix had pitted for new mediums, I want to say, and were coming quite fast. Me and James were battling for quite a while, but the reason I stayed out actually is because I obviously I don't know if you got it on stream, but the collision between me and HK. So I thought the only way I'm going to be able to beat them guys is stay out, and my tyres were on 88% going across the line, so there wasn't much left in them. But yeah, it was an enjoyable race otherwise.
No, we saw Jamie 29 do 27 laps, so I think he did 23 laps on the hards. Was certainly within the windows. Were you possibly worried about the two behind you in Scartrix and HK, who pitted onto the mediums, and right at the final lap, were you concerned that it might just be an easy overtake?
I knew that in the slow corners they would be a lot quicker than me, because obviously they've got a lot more grip. But I knew that if I could get into that final sector without them getting past, I knew I was basically almost there. I know HK obviously did a last ditch move, which I had to go across the I had to cut the corner slightly, but that's because I didn't have the room to go anywhere else. But I knew that me and James battling didn't help, because it meant that we were getting slower and slower, not able to keep up. So,
well, Scartrix, not even qualifying, finishing on the podium. How's that one for you?
Well, from that, I probably had the pace to win if I was able to qualify. But yeah, it was a good race coming back through the field. Safety car helped a little bit, but not really much. But yeah, there's a couple of moves that were a bit questionable. A couple of laps to the end, but yeah, it is what it is. Got P3, was it? And yeah, happy with that.
Did you expect to find yourself on the podium when you joined late, started 19th position, or was that even a little bit of surprise to yourself?
I knew I'd be in the top 7 at least, but I didn't expect to be fighting for almost a win as well. But yeah, it was a very good race from me and from a couple of other people.
I think that long stint on the hards helped you out, 'cause you went to lap 20?
19.
19, yeah. So I think that helped you quite a bit, because the guys that pitted under the safety car, we were basically going to pit lap 2021, so it kind of brought you level with us. So, but yeah, you did show good pace. I did see you and HK swapping around quite a lot, so I assume there was a lot of overtaking going on.
There generally wasn't. He outbroke himself and went across the corner, but the one he got me on was a bit forceful, which I wasn't too fond about. But yeah,
Like his last corner,
a little bit. Yeah.
move. But yeah, it was a good race.
Lads, great race from y'all. Danny, making it 2 out of 3 this season. That's a great way to start off the season. Another thing we wanted to mention, head over to the Invictus Racing League Twitter. We have a little bit of a competition going on. If you head to @InvictusRL on Twitter, if you like and retweet the post, you could win yourself a pair of Alpine Stars racing gloves. So Danny, that is something I'm sure you'd love to have, but meanwhile, yeah, anything more to say before we close things out here?
Not
Hey,
enough from me.
I was just about to say, because someone's asked in the chat saying, and this is to both of you really, do you feel you guys got a little bit fortunate with where the safety car came in? Did that help any part of your guys throughout the strategy, or did it not really affect you guys in particular?
I was actually planning to stop again on lap 21, but the spin between me and HK is the reason I stayed out. But originally it was going to be a one-stop, so I think pitting helped because it meant we got fresh tyres, because the mediums could only go about 12, 13 laps anyway. So it was just about mashing the others, and I did think I nearly got past HK when because obviously I don't know if you saw it, but I pitted because the safety car came out between when James and HK were already past the pit lane, so it allowed me to go in, and it allowed me to get past James in the end, so that did help quite a bit.
Alrighty, well, Danny, I know I asked you this last week. Thoughts on Germany next week?
I haven't raced it in quite a while, but last time I raced around there, I was okay pace. I'd say I'll probably be looking for a podium if I'm honest. I'm not sure about the win because I don't know about the other guys, but my pace was quite strong around there last time I raced, but that was a few months ago now.
Alrighty, well, for all of you watching, thank you very much for tuning in to this round 3 of the IRL Xbox series. And next week we will see you all in Germany at the Hockenring. Adios.